Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here out in front of my west side herb garden, and I wanted to get started and do a tour of this. We're going to be replacing this roof here maybe this week, and so I'm going to try to do all the tours. You might even see as many as 3 garden updates this week, but probably just 2. But I need to try to get these done because I don't know how soon I'll be able to do updates on these, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in the way and a lot of stuff going on. So, and I want to get this before things get trampled, because it just might happen. So anyway, let's get started on this little tour of what's on the west side here of our big rec room. So starting here on this corner, this is the little apple tree. We put a video out on it. It used to be on our deck for about 5-6 years and in a pot. And we finally, early spring I think it was, we got it moved out here. And it's doing pretty good. It doesn't have as many apples as I'd hoped, but you did have to be moved. So the apples it's getting on it look pretty healthy. And there's some more right there. And yeah, so it's looking pretty good. And you can see over there, there's our bigger apple tree. And let's get started on this corner here. All right, over here is my south herb garden. I'll be doing a separate video on that, so be watching for that. I'll probably be the very next one I do. So starting from this corner here, this is the southwest corner. I've got my Foxley thyme, one of them. It's just doing beautifully. And this is a currant. This one was given to me by the neighbor. And you can see it's got quite a few berries on it. Looking pretty good, starting to turn. Now, this tomato that looks a little bit sad, it's because I just moved it out here. And I know it seems like a weird place for a tomato plant, but this is what I like to do with my excess tomato plants. Is I start moving them. I've been moving those extra ones that were in the ground out of the greenhouse so I can get more space going on in there. And these extra ones were stuck in the ground just to give them a place until I can move them outside. And it's finally warming up enough that I can move them out here. But anyway, so that's why it looks a little wilty, because it just got moved out here. And anyway, what I like to do is just experiment with different places around the property to find out, you know, if they might do well in various places besides just the greenhouse. And you can see that's my main rose bush right there. This is the one I tend to collect the rose petals from and dry up and use in my skin creams and soaps. And also in my floral vinegars for washing my hair with, and various other things, making teas and stuff out of. And then here, a lot of times you'll see patches of garlic. I just plant, I don't necessarily harvest this garlic, I just plant it and then give it places to grow where it can help repel various garden pests. Garlic is one of those things that does help, as does catnip, which is right there. This is one of my smaller catnip plants. All of my catnips have started blooming and looking pretty good. There's a marshmallow. It's pretty, all the marshmallows I have planted on this side are all on the smaller side. They don't seem to like it over here as much, but they still seem to do okay. Feverfew blowing up back there, and this is feverfew too. For some reason, those ones are blooming first. I'm not sure why. And this one here was planted. These ones are actually younger plants that self-seeded from this one. There's a sage down there getting buried by this elderberry that I pruned way back, and it's already almost up to the gutter. I've got a little rose bush back here that I didn't even know. I was thinking I got rid of it, but you can see it's kind of a white with a little bit of peachy pink coloring to it. It's actually quite beautiful, but it's a miniature rose is what it is. And it's pretty much obscured by this elderberry. One thing I would say, I didn't realize elderberry grew this fast or quite so big. And I wouldn't, at the time I wasn't sure where else to put my elderberries, so I just planted them here. They were just little sticks when I put them in the ground. And I don't recommend doing this. Don't plant them up next to your building. But again, at the time I didn't have any other place for them. But now that we have the property, I'm considering moving them out there if I can do that without killing them. Right down there is an orange mint. I don't really care, I've shared it before, I don't really care for the flavor of the orange mint, but I still allow some of it to grow because I just absolutely love the smell. I would love it if my whole yard, all the grass that I mow, was just nothing but orange mint, because it smells wonderful when you mow over it. So here's a yarrow getting ready to bloom. I wish I would have thought to come back here and cut the flower heads off sooner, but I'm going to leave them. Like with any herbs, if you keep the flower heads cut back, you know, if you kind of prune them back as they're starting to grow, it'll bush out more and you'll get a lot more leaves. It's one of my woolly lambs here. This is my largest lavender, and this year I really need to hack it way back. It's just getting huge. And then here's the other elderberry. These two are the same. I believe these are both the Adams. And then with elderberries, you have to have a pollinizer. So the smaller one over here is called the Johns. Now, why it's so much smaller, I don't know if it's because of the variety or if maybe it just doesn't get as much sunlight as the other two. But one thing I like about this is it gets bigger clusters of berries and not so sparse, where these ones tend to be more spread out. I can't remember which one actually gets the bigger berries though. So another lavender. There's my lemon balm down there. It never does super great. It starts the spring out great, gets really huge leaves, and then they start getting smaller like this and just not doing great. So I did actually take a sprig and planted some out front to see if it will like it better in the south facing garden, because this right now is facing west again. So these were two separate oregano plants put in here really small, and now they look like one big oregano. And you can see the mint, this is the mojito mint, and the oregano are all coming up in this lavender. Look at it all. So I gotta come pull those back and try to get them back contained where I want them. So yep, there's one of the mojito mints. Again, over here, it's like the lemon balm. It starts out beautifully and then it starts to look like this. And another lamb's ear. This one looks kind of beat up because Patrick was out here pressure washing the lawnmower, one of the lawnmowers that came with our property, because he's totally fixing it up, repainting it. It's the old John Deere one. And we'll have a separate video on that you can see down the road. It looks really nice right now and not all beat up and rusty. So this is that goji berry that I thought had died years ago, and then suddenly this year it came back. So crazy. That is one of my rosemaries. There's my newest rosemary right there. It's real tiny. This is just regular peppermint, just like the other mints. It's doing okay here, but it seems to like it. The mint that's growing around my rhododendron out front is doing much better than this over here. These used to do better than they are this year, but I think again part of that is the weather. So you can see right here, this is a huckleberry. I just moved out here and it's loving it. I had it in a weird shady spot out back right up next to the house, and it never did really great. And I moved it here about a week ago, and all of a sudden it's just going crazy. I actually have another one, a tiny one that I walked over because you can barely see it right now. Let me come back here. It's right here between this feverfew and the marshmallow and oregano. This is more oregano. And it didn't really have any life on it when I put it over here, but I can see some new leaves coming on it. So this one got moved over just a couple days ago. And I realized there's a couple things over here I missed. I forgot to point out one of my echinacea plants. So this one I planted here last year, so I should get some flowers on it this year. And that was from seed that I planted, that I started last year from the echinacea I grew the year before that. Okay, back down here again. And I tend, no matter, even when I do a slow walk through, I do still tend to miss things. So the big leaf stuff, some of you may recognize it, that is horseradish. There's two more rosemaries down there. And I tried eating these horseradish flowers. They smell wonderful. And they taste really good. They taste like the root, but just not quite so hot and a little more mild, and a lot more mild. And these, you might be seeing these around. I tend to find these a lot in the front yard gardens. Well, in this west side garden more than anything. And that's from, I don't know the actual name of them. We always call them spit bugs. They're more annoying than anything. They don't hurt the plants. I've never had any problems with them hurting the plants. They tend to like to make their homes in all my herbs. Yeah, they're just gross. When you go to pick your plant and you grab a handful of spit. And look, right there. Look at that guy. Isn't he cute? Loving them purple sage flowers. So this is the sage plant that I killed off half of it from that stupid horse manure. I hadn't meant to actually get the horse manure around here. Grass clippings, you can see the grass clippings all around. This all came from the property. So if you saw that video where we were loading up all the grass clippings from the property, well, that's why. Was to bring them home and spread them in all the garden areas. So typically in this garden, I always just put grass clippings, and our yards are so small anymore. I don't quite get enough for all the gardens, so it was actually great to have all those wonderful grass clippings. So there's another horseradish, some elephant garlic. This little corner right here doesn't do super good. I do have a couple of nasturtiums trying to come up that were self-seeded, and then some red clover. I've been harvesting off that. There's red clover here, there, and everywhere. And then this is another catnip starting to bloom. It's funny, the flowers on this one look a little different. I know I have two different varieties of catnip, but let's get a close-up of these sage flowers. I just think they're beautiful. So last year was the first year for me to get any flowers on my sage, and that was the one on the down there that I probably didn't point out. Maybe I did. And then this year I got some on this one, and I think I might have some on the one out front. And there's another feverfew. I've been actually kind of cutting it back. And one of the things I wanted to show you before I pulled them all up is all these down here. All these are little feverfew plants that got self-seeded from that. Self-seeded from last year. And so this is what it will do. Once you get one plant established, that's all you'll ever need. And you will have feverfew coming out your ears. I've got it coming up in the yards. In fact, I'll show you here. This is just because we had a pile of wood here. We don't have any grass here anymore. It was just a big pile of firewood for a long time, so we need to get this all cleaned up. But now it's full of weeds. And look, feverfew, 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 feverfew. More there, 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 and there. That is what it will do. Then here's a little closer view of the bigger apple tree. Kind of dark. You can see the apples are coming along. Just thick with apples this year. Looking great. And then down at the base, I have peppermint planted. It doesn't, like I said, everything over here doesn't look real pretty because we just really need to redo this yard area, because we actually had firewood that went, because we got a big score on firewood one year, and it went from here all the way down to where that little tiny apple tree is. It was all firewood. In fact, those chunks there, those logs, those are the last of the firewood that we got that year. It was like 5 years ago. That still needs to be cut up. So we actually bought it like that. We had to go get it ourselves. Patrick used the backhoe and in the dump truck and trailer to haul it all home. We had to go out in the mountains and get it ourselves. And yeah, I even had to make a branding hammer and brand the ends of each one so that we could say those were ours and that we'd paid for it. But it was through the Forest Service. Sometimes you can get really good deals, you know, and they have auctions. And so it was enough to last us for 5 years, and we're still working through it. So hopefully we'll get all this cleaned up eventually and make it look a little nicer again. But I don't know, this may be our continual firewood processing area. So anyway, there's how it looks, kind of backed up a little bit. You can see the whole kit and caboodle of this garden area. Right, there's the West Herb Garden video update for June. I believe today is the June 16th. And be watching in a couple days. I'll do another garden update of the herb garden right out here. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.